Hello, everyone. Let's start with the first inaugural guest for our podcast, Tech Podcast 101 with Sumukh. I welcome Swarit Pandey, a renowned software engineer at Equinox. Welcome to the podcast, Swarit.
As
So, let's start with the first question. Can you tell us a bit about your journey into tech industry and how you ended up at Equinox?
ending up at Equinox was sort of like cause and effect. I started programming pretty early. Then I entered college and then started, studying and stuff. And it was, once you got interested, once you get interested into doing stuff with computers, it's quite natural to end up somewhere like Equinox.
Yeah, great, Swarit. What inspired you to pursue a career in software engineering?
Uh, it was not like something actually like really inspired, but my uncle is in software engineering, so I sort of like took major, like the starting point, like the anchoring point was in like looking in, and
Okay.
then it was like quite natural for me to get into programming. So it was more than just inspiration. It was like just fascination for computers and programming that led me to this.
Great.
Yeah.
So, which is your favorite programming language?
My favorite programming language, I would say it's Lua. I love Lua. I love programming in Lua. It's a dynamically typed language. I don't use it for work, but it's a language that I just really it's like real joy programming Lua. I also like Go, but yeah, Lua is
Go.
like number one. Yeah, yeah. Go I like
Great.
because it's most of my work is in Go. Yeah, yeah.
What technical skills did you find most valuable during your internship, and how did you develop them?
Okay, so I went through two internships. Both of them were great. So I think the biggest learning was how you develop systems that scale. That I learned from my first internship because we were there were like problems that they were solving that was like scaling problem stuff. So there I learned that. At Equinox, I learned during my internship is how you write really well robust systems, especially in terms of security and stuff. And some of the most, if I have to pinpoint the most valuable learning, I would say adaptability. You should always be ready to, you would not get much time to really understand the system as whole. So you should be adaptable enough to, quickly understand how the architecture works and get your hands down to coding. So adaptability is something that is really important, especially if you are an intern. Yeah.
Yeah, great. So, how do you approach learning new technologies or solving complex problems?
Okay, so though they are like two different questions. If I have to say learning new technologies, right? So I would say the best way to learn something is to do something. Uh, so a lot of times, let's say, for example, if you want to learn a new programming language, right? The best way to approach it is uh, first understand the overall structure of how the programming language is written, right? Then you understand the application of like what it does the best. Like for example, if you're learning Rust, right? So Rust is the best. I think it's the most suitable programming language for systems programming or low level programming. So something like Rust, you cannot write the front end code, right? So you need to know what tool you're using. So in terms of programming language, you should approach it, you know, down to get your hands down to write some applications. So if you are learning JavaScript, for example, write a quick clone of some website or something. Don't follow tutorials, otherwise you'll not learn anything. Do it on your own. I would suggest doing things on your own. because tutorial will, it's like the tutorial hell, right?
Yeah.
So you'll be stuck in that. Uh, how I approach, because I'm not a front end guy. Uh, so for example, if I'm learning Rust, right, I would write a quick CLI application that does something for me. Or if I'm learning a programming language like Lua, right? Lua is very famous in game programming. So I would write some quick bot for Minecraft or something. So you should know what a technology does, what its applications are. You should know the overall structure, and you should get down to solve some problems on your own. And yeah, avoid tutorials. Uh, I would say the best way is to see the official documentation of whatever you're working with, and understand it, and just try to do it on your own. And in terms of solving complex problems, I think I follow first principles approach. So it's like a physics approach that a lot of people follow. So in first principles, you get down to the basics. Like, okay, let's set the requirements. Let's see what we have already solved, and let's see what we have to do. And then start from like the step one, and don't overcomplicate things. Don't like jump to step 10. Just let's say if you are building a CLI application, right? So just think of, okay, what sub commands I need. For more context, CLI means command line interface. Yeah, so if you're writing a CLI application, first step is to find out what sub commands you are using, right? Then second step would be to design structure of those sub commands. Then, okay, what flags you need to use. Okay, then with this flag, what your functionality should be. So it should be a step-by-step problem, and you should not like, if it's basically divide and conquer approach. So if you have like a really big problem, just divide it into chunks and solve smaller problems, and merge them, like merge sort basically. So yeah, that's how I usually approach to problems. Like, just divide the problem, solve easy things, and you'll see that you're solving pretty complex things. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. So coming to the most famous question,
Okay.
CGPA versus skill.
Oh, okay, cool, cool. I
Yeah,
think
which
skills are more important. I would not say CGPA is very important. But okay, so okay, let me give you more context. There are two ways. Uh, there are two ways to think about it. Some companies, they make it like, there is like a barrier of CGPA. That is one. If you have said right that you want to get into some company, and if they take like some certain CGPA as the filter, then you have to do it. But if you are asking for my opinion, I'd say CGPA is not very important. You should float above 7.5. That's it. That's enough. But specifically chasing for CGPA would not help you at all. At least in my case, no one ever asked me what my CGPA is. So I always focused on like, getting solving problems. Yeah. So CGPA would not guarantee you that you would become a great programmer. It would guarantee you that you are very good academically. I have a lot of respect for people who do 8 plus. But yeah, I think personally, I think I value more the skills and how good you are as a programmer.
yeah, that's true. So coming to the next question, you have great score in GATE and JEST also, theoretical computer science. Like,
Yep.
how did you manage both GATE studies college and projects?
Okay. You, I could be a bit frank with you. I was actually not very focused in my college studies. So if you would look at my grades and all, they are not very great. So there was like bias towards gate prep. So I was not managing very well. I was sort of neglecting. But a lot of concepts in gate are from, second and third year engineering. So I was I was able to pass through the college, but I was not like very focused in like college stuff. It's mostly like, programming and like doing the things that I like.
That's great. Sorry. In your opinion, what's the biggest challenge facing the tech industry right now?
Oh, okay. I think I'm like way too early in the tech industry to say the biggest challenge, but
according
Can
to
you
your
give
experience?
can you be a bit more can you give more context mm, because there are multiple challenges
What is a tech
there are
related challenge?
okay, engineering related challenges, right?
Engineering related.
I think one of the biggest challenges almost everyone is facing is how to scale your systems. So you might have a Kubernetes team in your company, or you might have like dedicated Kubernetes engineers. But still, and especially with companies who train their large language models and stuff, it's it's very hard to scale them. And with scale, there is an issue of security. So mitigating security, like what at Equinox we do is we basically try to mitigate security at runtime, mitigate issues and as well as enforce so that no malicious agent can do something wrong with your system. So scalability and security is very hard to master, and it is pretty evident throughout, like wherever you will go, right? If you are working on a product, you'll realize that scaling is very hard. It's like the real bugs start to come up when your system is in production.
Yeah,
So once you solve scalability, you have another issue of security. And once you solve security, you have all other kind of issues, because sometimes your system might block some process that should not be blocked. And there are a lot of issues, but scalability and security, I think, are two major engineering issues. Yeah.
yeah, that's true. So, coming to the next famous question, that will AI replace our jobs?
Oh, okay, cool. Uh, Depends on like which job you're talking about. Like for example, I think from what I see, I think a lot of front end can be automated, and I would not say it will replace like front end people, but a lot of like mundane front end tasks can be replaced, especially things like templating. They can be easily replaced by AI. But I think more than replacing, what AI will do is it will, empower people. So I'm sort of like in the group which says AI is good. So you should whatever level you are, you should always learn you know, how you can use AI to make your work more efficient. And
Yeah,
I don't think it will replace anyone. I don't think it will completely replace anyone. It will only create new jobs, I feel. Yeah, repl replacement is out of question because I deal with like systems that are super complex, and I don't see those systems getting replaced by AI any soon, because you need like people, you need collaboration, you need to know context of like a huge system, because especially when you're working in a microservice environment, right, where you have multiple microservices running, you cannot like depend on AI to understand all the microservices what they're doing, because with each microservice there is like a huge complexity that comes with it.
yeah,
So yeah, I don't think it will replace. It will make you more efficient. It should make you more efficient, but always like make sure that you. I would suggest never to people I've seen a lot of times they just copy paste the code from some AI tools. I would say do not do that, because a lot of time first the code will not be correct, and sometimes you will not understand what AI is doing.
yeah,
So I would say have a hands-on knowledge, and use AI to maybe cross-check, see if there are some issues in your code. And for learning new things, AI is pretty good. Like if you want to learn something completely new, right? AI can give you like a boost start. Yeah.
that's great. That's true, Swarit.
Yeah.
So, the next question is, how are you applying your theoretical CS knowledge in a practical way in software
Oh,
engineering?
yeah, yeah. Okay, that's a really good question. Actually, most of the CS that you see right today is basically extension of theoretical CS. So one of the plays where theoretical CS helped me a lot is learning new programming languages. So I don't know if people know, but like all the programming languages have a formal grammar, and most of the programming languages, they follow something known as BCNF. It's a normal form, Berkshire normal form. So if you understand how how a formal grammar is written, how a formal grammar is designed, you can very easily pick up any new programming language. Like it has helped me a lot. You can easily understand what the overall structure of a programming language is. So also that is one application, but I see a lot of applications like all around. So if you have designed finite automata for some problem, right? It's basically system design. So if you can design a good finite automata, let's say if you have a problem and you have designed a finite automata with say 10 states and reducing it down to 5 states, that's system design. You are being clever, you can understand like what you're doing. So I think uh, theoretical CS is super important. So for example, uh, you might be designing a microservice, right? And you can actually map theoretical CS with system design. So if you are designing a microservice, so you can take examples from push down automata. I don't know how many people know push down automata, but it's a automata with a stack. So you can use push down. You can see how push down automata, how system design is very similar. In push down automata, you have a stack, and in system design, you will have a database or a cache. So you can apply a lot of things. You can in general see the structure of how theoretical CS concepts work and how you can map them to real engineering problems. And yeah, learning. And moreover that if I go into like mathematical aspects of theoretical CS, there are concepts like Turing complete, Turing incomplete, P versus NP problems. So you know what a programming language can do, what computer systems can do, and what they cannot do absolutely. So it basically helps you to think and analyze at like a different level. So you would see that your analysis skills would be in general more analytical. The approach would be more analytical than someone who has not been introduced with theoretical CS. Yep. It helps me a lot,
Yeah,
I would say. Yeah.
that's true. So the next question is, what do you advise for your juniors?
Mm. Okay. Uh, I think one advice that I would give that I never knew was find good mentors. Mentorship is having good mentorship is very good. But it's also not in your hands to find good mentors. I was lucky enough because I had really good mentorship at my previous internship and at Equinox. So my mentors are like they are even though I'm a software engineer now, I'm not an intern anymore, but still consider my seniors as my mentors. And they have helped me scale my skills very fast, I would say. So when you have good mentorship, right, always try to find people who will give you more responsibility. Try to find people who will trust in you, and make sure that whenever you are given a task, right, whoever gives you a task, make sure that you give 100% to it. Whether it gets completed or not is a different story, but like you should always make sure that you are living up to the expectations. And a good mentor will only expect you to put your 100%. And yeah, so I would, to all the newcomers and to all the juniors who are especially in fourth year, you might be in fourth year, right?
Yeah,
So I would say get good mentorship. Try to get in companies who have like good track record of having good mentorship. And yeah, that is one advice I would give. Listen to your mentors, and yeah, never shy away from working hard.
yeah. Thanks. So coming to the next question, like these days, many people getting laid off, and recession is going on. What do you
Hmm.
want to tell about the recession and
Okay.
placements?
For I can't comment a lot on like laying off because because it's a decision that mostly executives take. So I don't have a take on it, but there is a I would say what Pirate Software said. Pirate Software is a Twitch streamer. You guys can watch him. He is a game developer. I would say the most important thing is to make sure that you are always upskilling yourself because there will always be demand for good engineers. And sometimes you would be laid off, not because you're like a bad engineer or something, but it's just the demand of the situation. So you should always be in place where you can. where you can switch, you should always be upskilling yourself. Make sure that you are in make sure that you are whatever you are working at, make sure that you are adding value to the overall system. And yeah, more than that, I think I cannot comment because it's a very complex scenario. I also recession is like a very natural phenomenon in economics. So there will be a period of recession. So you cannot avoid it. Uh, Also, it depends. A lot of it depends on like luck. So if you are like sort of
Yeah.
unlucky, you can be in that ship. But what's in your hand is, I always think that what's in your hand is to make sure that you are doing your work diligently and upskilling yourself. And as far as you are doing that, I would say, statistically speaking, you would be in a better position. Yeah.
Yeah. So the next question is, have you applied through cold email, cold message?
Oh, no, I have never done it. Like, never ever. I have never emailed someone like just simply, or I have never done like cold messages. I think I never found the need of it. I mean, I never ran into such situations. I did apply through like the normal channels, like you go to the career pages, careers page, or like just apply from there. But yeah, I don't really know I don't really like understand like how it works, and I've never like done it. So
Hmm.
yeah, not out of my experience grade.
Yeah. So, do you have any unique hobbies or interests outside of tech?
Yeah, I have like a lot of hobbies actually. Uh, okay, so I'm also a speed giver, so I do speed giving a lot. Uh, Other than that, I read a lot, like standard. I guess that's a standard topic, reading. What else? I like solving puzzles. I don't know if programming is a hobby, but like overall, it's like my hobby. It's also my work, so it works. Uh, what else is my hobby? Yeah, I think I'm pretty nerdy stuff. All what like people do usually. Reading, yeah, that's it.
We
Nothing
are
too interesting.
like-minded. We are
Yeah,
like-minded.
yeah. That's good. You'll realize when you are working that having hobbies that are sort of indoors is pretty cool.
Yeah. So, what's your go-to way to de-stress after a long day of coding?
Okay. I don't really get stressed after a long day of coding. I do get stressed if I'm I'm working on a bug, or if I'm like if there is something that is like behaving strange, that is not coming from my work itself. To de-stress, I would say, I don't know, take a nap or something. I'm not sure. Like, yeah, I would say I would take a nap if I think about it. Yeah.
So, what is the future of Web3?
Oh, Web3. Okay, so I don't think AWS is going anywhere, or I don't think Azure is going anywhere. So,
Yeah.
I mean, when people say Web3, right, at the end of the day, things will run on AWS. And AWS is like opposite of what Web3 is, or Azure is opposite of what Web3 is. So, I mean, it would catch up. I'm optimistic about Web3, although there are a lot of engineering challenges that are to be solved. As I said, one of the biggest challenge I think Web3 could face is interconnectivity between systems, especially since it heavily relies on distributed computing, right? You need to make sure that the overall graph is like uh, stable enough to cater to users. But complete decentralization, I don't think it will happen, because you will always need like a service that is like maybe like Azure or AWS to run most of your systems. So yeah, I think I'm optimistic about it, but also I cannot say a lot about Web3 because I don't work in that domain. So yeah, this is what I know as a layman. Yeah, I mean it's future, and also we need to look at like actual engineering challenges that Web3 has. Currently, I think there are a lot. Like it's not like we will do it in like a year or two. But I think we need Web3. I'm on for, I'm all in for, systems distributed. Yeah. So, but yeah, there are issues that are there. So unless we solve them, I don't think it will have as great traction as like what people say.
Yeah. So the next question is, does certification matters?
Okay. Okay. That's a good question. I think it could give you credibility. I would say it would give you credibility that it's. I would say it's better. It's better to have actual hands-on skill than any certificate. That is one thing. But if you're a fresher, right? If you're starting out, a certificate can give you, let's say, 2 points boost. Like if I have to hire someone, right? And if I see two people of same skill, but one has, let's say, CK. So CK is Certified Kubernetes Administrator. Yeah. So if someone has CK, I would have a bias, right? That okay, if he or she has a CK, at least they would be knowing, the basics of Kubernetes. So if you're a fresher and if you're starting out, certificates can help. But I would still say that you get more hands-on skill because at the end of the day, your certification would not matter. What you can do with the tool matters. This advice was given to one of my mentors. So yeah.
Okay, predict the next big tech breakthrough that will change the world.
Oh, cool. I guess I would not say AI because it's already happened. I'm very interested in this. I'm very interested in computing. So I would say neuromorphic computing is something that I'm looking forward, and thermodynamic computing. So we are still in von Neumann architecture, right? So once we also I'm more interested in like hardware breakthroughs than the software based breakthroughs because software is too fast. Because I think in JavaScript community there is like a next breakthrough happening right now. We don't know. There must be some
Mhm.
new framework that is coming like every minute or something. So I'm very interested in hardware based breakthroughs. I think there is a company called Grok. They have developed something called as LPU, or language processing units. So that's like a breakthrough that can process like 500 tokens per second or something. That's very fast. So I am looking forward to thermodynamic and neuromorphic computing. It's very futuristic. But I think as soon as we move from von Neumann architecture to an architecture that's completely new, right? That would be a breakthrough. That would also include quantum computing, by the way. Yeah.
Yeah. So the next question is, how did you manage your time? Like you crack gate, then projects, internship, everything. How did you manage?
Oh yeah. Okay, that's a good question. I think. Okay, so first of all, I'm a very in-house guy. So other than sleeping, I think I'm in front of computer. So I never faced shortage of time issue. I usually divide my time. Now it's mostly work because now I have to give all of my time to work. But when I was in college, right? If you look at my attendance, it's pretty low. It's like I was like around 50% or 50-60%. So in college, I was mostly home, and I would say I would give 9 hours to gate prep, around 9 to 10 hours to gate prep, uh, 5 hours to 5 hours to learning or programming, just programming. Mostly it was algorithmic programming. So you would solve problems on wherever you're solving. And what else? Also, a bunch of time was going in like things that I like. So that would be like, uh, you know, working on like some side project. That is like different from learning. So you learn something new, right? You learn a new programming language, for example. You build something out of it. So yeah, so I would say 9 hours to my gate prep and 9 hours to just programming. Yeah, that covers.
That's great. Well,
Yeah, so I mean six hours is good for sleep.
yeah. So what are your thoughts about open source contribution? Have you contributed?
Oh yeah, you should do it. I was not very fast to catch up, but I would say everyone should do it. Uh, there are there are a lot of there are a lot of ways you can do it, but I would say I would recommend that first learn Git. If you don't know Git, you cannot contribute anywhere.
Yeah.
So one is learn get good at Git, so that you can like at least understand how version control works. And don't get like very don't get too passionate about it, so that you raise PRs which are like nonsensical.
Yeah.
Make sure that whatever you're doing, right, maybe start with, maybe you see some issue in documentation, right, of some project, right, go start there, fix some documentation maybe. uh, some people sometimes they try to fix an issue that is too complex for them, so don't do that. Usually most of the open source project will have a tag called good first issue. So get started with good first issues, try to solve them, and make sure that before contributing to any project, right, make sure that you have tested it enough on your local system. Because a lot of times maintainers would not have time to thoroughly review your PR, so your PR will get stale. So, and your PR should make sense. So you should do it, but you should keep some things in mind. Be responsible about it. And they are serious projects, because we also have a very critical component. It's called QBM, that's open source, right? So there is a pain to handle open source projects for maintainers. So make sure that your PR is clean. Make sure that it's well tested. It's rebased. You have scratched all the commits. Uh, you have given a good description. And don't take it lightly. Don't do it just for getting a job. Do it out of passion. If you're still not there, then take some time and learn Git.
Yeah.
That is my thoughts on open source contribution.
And we can start with Hacktoberfest also.
Yeah, you should start with Hacktoberfest. I think Hacktoberfest is a good place to start. Yeah, Hacktoberfest is a pretty good place to start. Yeah, yeah. And there is also LFX mentorship. You can go with that. There is also GSOC,
Yeah.
and there are a lot of things. There are a lot of places to start, but there are some fundamental rules that you should know in terms of open source. Um, but what I've seen, a lot of people, they don't know Git at all, and they still try to do open source. So it's Git is not just Git clone and Git commit and Git merge. There are a lot of things that
Yeah.
are there, especially when you are going to contribute to a project that is already in incubation stage, or which is already used by a lot of people. So you should be more responsible about it.
Yeah. Like Git and version control system also helps in companies.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. If so, what happens that if you don't know Git, right, what would happen is that you would constantly run into issues. So a lot of times you might have to cherry pick commits, or you might have to reset commits, or you might have to do all sort of things that you might not have experienced. You need to know Git to a level that you can understand how file systems are managed in Git, because Git as a software is basically file system management. So you should know that what action that you would ask Git to do, what are the effects of it, and if something goes wrong, right, make sure that you have good mentors that can help you out from that situation. Mentorship helps a lot with learning tools like Git, because a lot of Git I learned through mentors. I was very basic at Git, so you need to first of all, what happens is that when you are using Git in a production system, right, or like in a system that is like critical, right, you will be very daunted, like it feels very strange that something might go wrong. So always make sure that you go ahead and ask someone who is good at Git. Don't be shy that if I ask such a small question, it would be like embarrassing.
Yeah.
So be ready to ask questions and understand Git thoroughly. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Swarit, for
Okay.
giving your such a wonderful thoughts for our audience. Thank you
Thank
so
you. Thank you.
much.
Thank you so much. Have a good day.
Bye.
Bye.